Hi, we're going to talk about the Cori cycle right now. The Cori cycle is an overview of energy metabolism in an anaerobic environment. So we just learned what happens when we can turn pyruvate into acetyl-CoA. That happens in the presence of oxygen. What happens when we don't have any oxygen? Our body doesn't turn pyruvate into acetyl-CoA, it turns it into lactate. When your muscles are used to the point of fatigue, so if let's say you're doing some bench pressing, you're lifting that weight, you keep lifting it until you can't do it anymore. You've run out of energy, and your body has produced, instead of using pyruvate to turn it into acetyl-CoA to enter the TCA cycle to create energy, the body creates lactate instead, and that allows us to create more glucose, but it also kind of makes you stop lifting weights. That lactic acid builds up in your muscles, and that's your body's signal. It tells you that you should stop and take a little rest so that your muscles can recover. So this is happening in the muscles. When your muscles have insufficient oxygen to allow pyruvate to become acetyl-CoA, it converts that pyruvate to lactate instead of acetyl-CoA, and that produces some really quick energy, but you can't sustain it. So pyruvate is normally converted to acetyl-CoA, but in the absence of oxygen, pyruvate gets converted to lactate. And what happens is that these hydrogen ions are accepted by pyruvate, and that's what kind of makes them into lactate. But it leaves the coenzymes that are attached to those hydrogens, it frees them up and allows them to go back up here and to be used to make more pyruvate. They use it in the glycolysis, the production of pyruvate. So when you've made this lactate, the lactate gets sent to the liver via the bloodstream, and the liver converts that lactate back to glucose, and that glucose then enters the energy pathway again. So that lactate accumulates in your muscles, and it's acid. It causes a burning sensation. So when you've worked your muscles to the point of fatigue, you get a buildup of lactic acid, and that is a signal that you should rest. And so when you rest, it could just be a few minutes. That's all you need, all that's needed in order for your muscles to recover. And then that lactic acid is removed from the muscles, sent to the liver, creates glucose out of it, and then is released back into the energy pathway so you can use it to make energy again. This is basically the picture from your textbook. This is happening in the muscle cells, right? And the pyruvate molecules accepts these hydrogen ions, and the coenzymes that they're attached to go back so that they can be used in glycolysis. This, when pyruvate accepts these hydrogen ions, it becomes lactate. Lactate, as we said, travels to the liver converts it back to glucose, glucose sends it back to the bloodstream so that it can return to the muscles.